Hey juniors, so today we're going to continue our benchmark prep with nonfiction texts. Today we will be reading a text about what happened after the Vietnam War. So make sure you have your reading out. It's on your playlist, as well as your blank sheet of paper to take notes. Let's take a look at the first paragraph. It's our context paragraph. Many of you have never read about the Vietnam War before, so this paragraph provides a little bit of background information. The Vietnam War lasted for more than 20 years. The country was split into two, with North Vietnam being supported by Communist Russia and South Vietnam supported by Democratic United States. Both sides suffered heavy casualties or deaths during the war, most of which was fought in dense jungles. The war was largely unpopular in the United States, and after years of protests, the American government pulled its troops out, leaving the South Vietnamese to fend for themselves. Many fled to neighboring countries and even the United States. Many more stayed, however, and eventually faced discrimination, harassment, and arrest at the hands of the North Vietnamese government. So set up your paper for our Cornell notes. On the left, we're going to write paragraph intro. On the right, we'll write our central idea, which is the Vietnam War split the country into two, the U.S. abandons the South, and many fled or faced problems if they stayed. Our quick hits are Vietnam War and 1970s. That provides us a little bit of context about the setting and what's going on. As always, if you need more time to write, you can hit pause, but I'm going to move on. Paragraph 2. After the fall of Saigon on April 30th, 1975, every South Vietnamese man, from former officers in the armed forces to religious leaders to employees of the Americans or the old government, were told to report to a re-education camp to learn about the ways of the new government. Many South Vietnamese men chose to flee on boats, but others had established lives and loved ones in Vietnam, so they willingly entered these camps in hopes of quickly reconciling with the new government and continuing their lives peacefully. According to my father, the government said re-education would only last for 10 days, and at most 2 weeks. However, once there, the men were detained for many years in grueling labor camps. So on the left, we're going to write paragraph 1. On the right, we can write, North Vietnam takes control, South Vietnamese forced to go to camp, some fled but some wanted to stay, forced to stay for years. And paragraph 3. The best way to describe these camps is through the words of someone who lived through it. In spring 2003, I interviewed my father and learned about his experiences in totality for the first time. Here are some excerpts from accounts of his 7 years in re-education camps. I'm going to write paragraph 2 on the left, and on the right, I'm going to write the main idea, which is that it's the point of view of the former prisoner, the author's father. And the last paragraph we're going to do together is paragraph 4. My father believes he was kept at the re-education camps for 7 years because of his military intelligence status. Communists were afraid of military intelligence because we could reveal information, so they brought MI to the north. Here, the re-education camp became known as a labor camp due to the notorious back-breaking work forced upon the prisoners. Their main goal was not to teach us, but only to detain us. Many of them didn't even have an education beyond the 8th grade. How could they teach us? So on the left, we're going to write paragraph 3. On the right, we're going to write, put in camps because of ties to the military. Actually, a labor camp. Remember, guys, our benchmark 1 is in 3 days. So stay focused and keep ready for your tests on Friday.